This is for the free thinkers, the curious beings that swim upstream, who see possibilities, not problems, that learn from the past, live by the present, and create the future. This is the I Love Ugly audio show.
Welcome to the I Love Ugly audio show. My name's Valentin Nozic, creative director and founder of I Love Ugly. On this episode, we sit down with friend of the brand, kiwi-international DJ Quix. We discuss why failing university was the best thing that ever happened to him, and proving to his dad that passion can actually pay the bills, the role faith played in his life, and figuring out how to find and pursue your passion. Please note the first 8 minutes of this podcast contains poor audio due to technical difficulties during production. It's not our usual standards. However, after the 8-minute mark, the audio quality improves drastically. Enjoy the episode.
Cool, Jono, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man.
So you're a 24,
yeah.
is it, I believe? 24-year-old man. You achieved a lot in a short amount of time. Considering you took a bit of an unconventional path to what most 24-year-olds would take, obviously, you know, uni and whatnot. Why do you think you made it and achieved so quickly?
It all kind of feels like a blur in a way. Everything, like, I mean, I go back 4 years ago and I was still like mowing lawns and trying to be in the club scene and establishing my artist project. It doesn't feel like it's happened really quickly. Mm-hmm. I think in the last couple of years, obviously lots of like things have like ramped up quickly, but I've been producing music for like 10 years almost.
Wow.
So, and like being a musician and working in the music life industry has always kind of been there and been present. So it's always kind of been just this consistency of like listening to music, playing music, writing music, and then, you know, and kind of like shaping that path so that I can, you know, when the DJ life comes up, you know, I was like, oh, I'm going to jump into the DJ world, and then producing that music so that when I jump into, you know, the club scene, I could bring that music with me. Mm-hmm. And then I think the biggest thing for me was getting management. Mm-hmm. In the first instance of like having someone taking care of me and actually like looking after me and looking out for me was like really sick.
And was that like a bit of a turning point because you could really hone in on your craft and not need to worry so much about all the other...
I had someone like watching my back and not just watching my back, but like, you know, thinking about the next step and thinking about like, okay, so you have all this cool music, how are we actually going to release it, and how can we release it efficiently so that not just like 100 people see it, that, you know, 10,000 people see it.
100%.
You know?
And how did you find this person?
So, cool story, because I had been, you know, I was at the stage where my music was actually getting pretty good, and I was like, oh, it's actually, you know, actually sounds decent. I had a long time of like just hating my music because it was it just didn't sound like what other people's music sounded like. And I always was like, I don't want my music to be played out because it's not, say, compressed in the right way. It's not mixed and mastered or EQ'd or like pushed in the same way like other people's music is. So when I kind of found that my music was like really good, and I was like, okay, like this is a like industry standard. Then I started obviously like collaborating out and putting music out, and some random guy in the US who was an artist, not random guy, he was this artist, but he showed my music to a few people around there, and then I got hit up by an artist that I did look up to. His name is Party Thieves. He goes by Thieves now, and he reached out to me, and I just put out like a 3-track EP. Wow. And he said, take one of the songs off. I want to like re-release it with you. Like I want to collaborate on it. And I was like, oh, but I just, you know, I got 500 plays on all the songs now. Like, I'm like, oh, like I don't want to ruin it. But I was like, oh, long term, I think it's going to be better if I take that off, re-release it, and see what he can do with it.
Yeah. And how old were you at this stage? Sorry.
I think I was like 17.
17.
Or
Wow.
18.
Okay, so this is 7 years ago.
I think I just left school actually.
Wow.
And I was like in my uni days.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to in a sec because that was it's a crack up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I re-released it with this guy, and his manager was like, "Oh, Quix is like pretty cool. It could be like a fun little project to pick up and see if it goes anywhere."
Mm-hmm.
So I had their managers from the US pick me up, and all of a sudden I had now access to all their contacts and
Wow.
and their networking. So the song got re-released on not a major label, sorry, and not even just a regular label. It was like a SoundCloud online collective called, I can't remember the name, sorry, but it had like 500,000 followers on SoundCloud.
Wow.
And I was like, well, of course I'm going to release it on there. And then the song actually blew up a bit, and it got actually played out by guys like RL, What's So Not. The song was called House Party.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, looking back, it was a silly song. Like, it didn't really like have a lot. It was just like a beat. It didn't have words or vocals. It was just a cool sounding beat.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the introduction of like electronic music into what it is now, kind of like following the beat stage into the song stage into what EDM now kind of is.
Interesting. But there must have been, even in those early stages, although looking back in hindsight now, you're like, it's not that good. There must have been some magical ingredients what these guys picked up on pretty early on. Like they've obviously got an ear for it.
I think like obviously I just wanted to be different. I wanted to like, I guess I wasn't going out and collaborating a hell of a lot, so that my sound wasn't being like influenced by other people to an extent. But I do believe that my sound is an influence of about 20 artists, all combined into one, and what I perceive as like good music.
Yeah.
So like when people say, oh, it's like the Quix sound, it's like, yes, but it's also like influence from like 30 other artists, kind of like vibes that I love.
Yeah, which is probably like most music, most art, most clothing, most any creative outlets.
It's like collaborating is, kind of like marriage. It's like, you can do so much, but as soon as you like actually put two projects together and collaborate, it's like you actually are able to achieve so much more and stretch so much further.
I agree. Like when we've done collaborations in the past with big notable companies as well, like the energy that comes in the result of the two coming together is just so much more than if you were just doing it yourself. Like, you probably wouldn't be able to get there. But you must, like when you first started, did you have the dream to crack it big?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think that's vital, or do you think some people they just stumble on it by accident, or do you think you need to be hungry for success?
I think there's like a few different ways to go about it. Like for me, I would always be on YouTube looking at Skrillex playing Ultra, or my like the biggest DJs in the world, Steve Aoki. Like playing Tomorrowland, like with 100,000 people in front of them, and there's fire and there's CO2 and fireworks going, and I would look at those videos on YouTube and just be like wishing that, and obviously like, man, that would be so dope, like not even realizing that it could be a reality, but just dreaming about it. And then even like when I started getting into like DJing, I was bringing I had the small controller called a DJ Wego, and it was about a shoebox size controller, DJ controller. Hooked it up to my computer, had all my music on my computer, and I would DJ in my bedroom and pretend like I was playing for like 50,000 people. And it was like, obviously I would, I'd practice intros and I would practice transitions and being like, this is how I'd imagine it going. And then now to like have gone in America, and like 2018, I played some of the most amazing festivals like Coachella.
How many people? in front of how many people?
Averagely, it got up to around like 8 or 10,000,
Wow.
which is still incredible.
Yeah, of course.
But not even. It's like also having an opportunity to play these festivals like Shambhala, Coachella, Electric Forest, a bunch more. You know, like 2 years ago I played EDC Vegas, which is like probably the biggest EDM electronic music festival in the whole world.
Yep.
And it was like 2017, me, which was 2 years ago, 22 years old, like someone, my agent calling me up and saying, good news, we got EDC Las Vegas 2017, and I'm just like flipping out, like
amazing.
Can't believe it, just shaking, just loving it.
But just kind of like rewinding it a few steps, you said you're in your bedroom, you could already see yourself playing in front of 100,000 people anyway.
Yeah.
Like that is like, you know, so when you did eventually start playing in front of these insane amounts of people, it must have felt almost comfortable and right, because you'd already seen this in your head, right?
A little bit, like, you know, it was, you know, it wasn't 0 to 100. It was 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 100. And I gradually got there from playing in front of, you know, an empty club to, you know, like like 100-person rammed packed club, to then, you know, playing a club, you know, 500 kids, and it's like there was 30 people there. Wow. Then to playing to a 500 capacity, like rammed, sold out show there, and then gradually going up and supporting other artists on their tours, and so they would play to a room of 1,000 people, and so then I would support their show and open to those 1,000 people. Wow. So therefore, like it gradually went up, and so it wasn't like a shock of like, oh man, I got to play in front of like 10,000 kids, even though that's fun. And I do still get a little nervous in front of that, because, you know, I'm not an amazing public speaker, but I can count to 4 and say, let's go, and put your hands up. Yeah. But I jumping to like, you know, playing Coachella or playing EDC, or like, it's kind of those moments where I'm like, this was my dream, and now it's come true, and I'm so damn blessed to be in this position, and it's incredible. Yeah,
it's amazing. And it's also taking a time to actually realize that you're here, you're experiencing it, and just really absorb it, because, you know, it does actually happen quick. It happens, you know, getting to the destinations quick, and then it can be over quickly as well, right? True. Like, not in all cases, but, you know, in some cases as well. In some cases, sure. But because I'm really fascinated with that whole visualization thing and goal setting, and I definitely think for, you know, every successful person I meet and interview on the podcast, it's like, it is almost a foundation of what they do. They almost knew exactly what they wanted. They started visualizing it, they wrote it down, and then all of a sudden they're awakened to all opportunities around them to kind of make that happen. So you've got, you know, your manager, or you had that opportunity where you released a 3-track EP, and you're like, okay, I'll cut the songs and I'll work with this guy, because I know that's going to probably give me far more reach. Yeah, investing and seeing return on something, and you're not always going to see return, because that's not always how the world works, but you got to take risks. And I mean, like when I took risks in my music project, I knew that like half of them wouldn't pay off, and it wouldn't have like cost me money, but it would have cost me time and effort. And possibly embarrassment or failure, or maybe. Like I just knew that, like, all, you know, like over the years I've learned to realize that my time is very valuable. And if I spend, you know, like if someone, you know, asks me to do a remix for their song, I got to weigh it up. I'm like, well, you know, there's an opportunity to earn money from this, although there's also an opportunity to gain like some, you know, the promotion from this. Like, you know, I did a remix for Gashi, French Montana, and DJ Snake called Creep on Me, and I got it called up to do the remix 3 days before it was due. Wow. And so I started it, and it was mixed and mastered, and we handed it in half a day before it was put in. Now, I mean,
that's obviously a huge remix because it's the names on them.
Yeah,
The names on the remix are insane.
Yeah.
So I knew it was like a big deal, even if I was like, they said, oh, we only have a $50 budget for that, and I was like, I'll do it for $50. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll spend all that money to just get it mastered so it's weighing up my time, and if someone if there's a smaller DJ that asks for a remix, it's obviously going to be a different scenario. So yeah, knowing that my time was a lot valuable, and so therefore like knowing that if I was to succeed and invest in what I wanted to do, there was going to be times where I felt like my time was wasted.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty impressive to have that epiphany at 24 years old. A lot of people are 40, 50, 60.
But
it.
I would say, and this might lead on to like another question, but it's like my growing up and my kind of life was like started from, mum pulled me out of school when I was primary school when I was like 8.
Why is that?
Because I didn't work like other kids work.
Yeah.
It was weird. All the other kids were in there writing nice and quiet, and I was just like tapping everything, just like couldn't sit still.
Yeah,
And
sounds like my son.
yeah, and I just couldn't work properly. So like mum took me out, and all my teachers were like, thank you, like took me out of school, and I just, mum homeschooled me for 6 years.
Wow.
And after that 6 years, it was, I'd say like half of the 6 years I started learning guitar and drums and bass guitar, and I was playing in the church band, and I was, other friends that I made during homeschool, I was in bands with because they were musicians. So then we all like were trying to like rock out and play stuff. And then at like 13, 14, I made the decision to like go back to school because I kind of freaked out. I was like, I'm not like learning anything. And if I want to go to uni and get a good qualification, I'm going to need to flip and study. I need to know stuff. So
is that what you wanted? Did you want to get a qualification?
So I wanted to, just because my dad is a big influence in my life, and he had done Massey University and absolutely killed it, and he's had amazing jobs his whole life and has been so very successful in that. And I was like, well, like if I need to raise a family, and I also had my girlfriend that's now my wife, if I wanted to have a family and be successful, I need to do uni, because in my head, that was the only way that I could actually go down the path and be successful. So I went back to school, found a bunch of cool friends, and one of those guys in my class, we were both into music, and he found Fruity Loops, and he's like, check this out, like that's cool, like you can produce music, but like you don't have to like record it in, you could play it in on the piano, or you could put drum samples in. And then we found out about dubstep, and we're trying to make all like the dubstep happen, and then I found trap music, and that changed my life, and I was like, trap is like so much better, it's so much more tasteful, it's like hip hop, but it's like dope, and it's not like in your face, but it's groovy, it's got rhythm, and like that's essentially I chose trap over like making electro or dubstep because it was way easier. All you need is like a kick, 808 snare, wonky synth, and hi-hats, and it's like, well, you got like a dope sound already. And like that, it's so minimal and easy that you didn't need a lot of elements to like create something good. So that's why that happened. Anyway, back to my schooling. It's hilarious because I spent year 10 to year 13 doing all my schooling, and actually starting from someone, like when I got to my class, everyone was way ahead, and I was like looking at the stars going like, I don't know if I can do this. And by the end of year 13, I got UE, and I was like, I don't know if what is it called, merits, and like
Yeah.
it goes achieve merit
that was
excellence.
after my era.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the middle. So it was like a 60%. I think it was like a B average or something like that. So I wasn't just achieving. I was also like actually doing really well. So yeah, I like pushed myself, and Dad was like, I wanted to impress my dad, and got into uni, and I went into business. And on my first day, I was like, all right, gonna do business school. And about a month in, I was like, I knew that this wasn't for me. And it sucked because I also had paid for that semester, and I also wanted to try. I really wanted to try it,
Yeah.
And if I got to the end of the year and I was, and I'd failed, and that was it. I'm not gonna spend any more money. And this is exactly what happened.
And time.
Also, I was producing about 90% of the time that I was there. I was just like, every break that I had, every opportunity I had to study, it was laptop out, grab a pie, and make a beat.
So just holding on that. So you basically went down this path to impress your dad, but you kind of knew, man, I'm spending 90% of my time making music, and I love it. Was there a light bulb moment where you're like, man, I need to do what's right for me?
Definitely.
Because I don't know what your relationship's like now, but I take it your dad's super proud, and regardless of you not taking that conventional.
It was an awesome transition to like seeing him, because to seeing him like understand what I do, because he's very logical, and it, he knows the book backwards. Yeah. So to be able to show Dad that this is doable, I just had to like show him like, oh, this is what like I just got paid, and then he was like, oh, like, okay, potentially there's something here, and I show him some numbers, and he goes, well, I could set out this budget for you, and if this could actually work. But that was like a 3-year process of like building up to that. It didn't take like a week of me trying to like force like twist my dad's arm. But I finished 1 year of uni, and I think out of, it was 8 papers, I passed 2 of them and failed 6. And it was like a average failure rate of like 45%. And I'm so glad I failed, because if I'd passed, I would have been like, Dad, I passed. And he'd be like, all right, you got to work harder for next year. And I'm like, crap. So glad I failed so that I could get out of there. And then I went and did 1 year of being an intern at Life Church. And I think that was like a really amazing moment for me to not just like study the Bible, because that's cool, but anyone can do that. But I went into an environment. I went into a work environment and essentially worked for free under someone, and gained so much life skills throughout that whole year. And I feel that's touching on what you were saying before, how like, all this stuff at 24. But I feel like I really had this like pressure cooker moment when I was like 19 to actually get in a position of trying to, like gaining more years on my life, and actually learning skills, and actually, this is, you should reply to an email when it comes in, and you should also, have like a to-do list and not forget stuff, and so I went through a lot of like stretching moments in that year that I feel are benefiting me now, and in this time.
Well, it just sounds like you're like a lot of people. You work with your hands, and you learn on the job, and you learn doing.
Exactly.
And that's kind of where I'm a little bit mixed opinions and emotions with the schooling system, because, as I said, my son, he's very much like you, and I was like that. He's he's irritated. He wants to get out. He's very inquisitive and curious how things function, and he wants to do little businesses and this and that. And
exactly.
I'm like, okay, I'm actually gonna raise him and treat him differently to how my dad did it, because my dad, he was a Croatian immigrant. He was all about go to school, get an education, get a nice job.
Whereas for me, I went to uni, absolutely hated it, and then I came out, and what I did is completely different to what I studied. And that's also kind of some of these guys, which, Devin here as well, pulled him out for that reason, because I just saw he's got raw talent and he's going to learn more on the job than
totally.
in a classroom. But why do you think it is that so many people, I'm probably deviating a little bit here, but
that's right.
why do you think it is so many people do things to impress their parents, even if they know in their soul it's not the right thing to do?
You gotta really work with what you got in your hands, and you gotta be smart about it. So I didn't just straight up go out and try and be a DJ and live for free at home and like show my parents that I didn't care about what they thought. I really believe that, honor your mother and father, and he will give you long life. And, I really believe that. So I went out and, after I did this internship, I went and started working for my best mate's dad, and they run a lawn mowing business as a groundman. So I started I was like, what can you do? And he said, I'll give you $17 an hour and you can come and just mow lawns. And I'm like, great, well, that's going to be me, and I'm going to work as hard as I can and earn money to live and survive, and then also have my girlfriend, fiance, now wife. That process happened all those 3 years of working there. But in a way, I knew that I didn't want to just sit on my ass and wait for this DJ life to come to me. I kind of had to occupy myself, learn what it was like to really work, and it was 6:30 a.m. Wake ups and 4:30, 5 p.m. finishes, and I'd get back home, and my managers would be like, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, oh, so flipping tired from work, and then I would bust that out, and then I'd be straight to sleep, waiting for the next morning. So I mean, it was tough, and
so important though, right? Because it's like when you do get in a position where you can do your passion, or in your case, making music full time. I think looking back in the days where you had to do the grind, laborious work during the day, it kind of makes you really appreciate it again, once again, Because same thing for me, I was working in the vineyard all day, and then I had a daughter unexpectedly, and then I had to do bottle line at night to get more money, and then when I came home, I was doing I Love Ugly till like 3, 4 in the morning, and it's like, oh my God, but you got to do it, right?
I think in this day and age right now, we're in a very quick pace world, and so a lot of people see your success and interpret that as like, oh, that only took you 6 months to get there. I could do that, and it's like they create this wrong perspective of actually how long things take. And I mean, for me, it's if you think about it, it's been building since I was 9 years old. When I first had my first drum lesson.
100%.
It started then, and it's kind of just been a gradual build until I was 19, when I had my first opportunity to go to Vancouver and play a show with some artists that I looked up to, and then they flew me back home. I was there for 3 days.
Wow.
And it's a long way to fly for 3 days.
It
was brutal.
I know.
But I was still mowing lawns. I said to my boss, look, I've got an opportunity to go to Vancouver for a show, and my boss was the flippin' man. He was like,
it's amazing.
Yeah, you got to do it. I'll work around. I'll make sure someone covers your work. I'll make sure that
it's amazing.
You nail this. And actually, my boss was my wife's uncle.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's like, it's all in the family. It's
crazy. So, for sure. And speaking of family, obviously you're raised Christian household. And then, the DJ scene does have a lot of stigma around it, negative stigma around it, like drugs, partying, alcohol, this and that. Was there a conflict there? And how, when you decided this is a path I'm going, how were your parents? Were they supportive?
Yeah.
How did it all play out?
I think it was great, because I had a lot of support, especially from my wife, my parents, my friends around me, And growing up, I never was a guy that would go to parties, even if it was like school. It's like, oh, we're having a party. I mean, I knew that was happening, not just like in my school, but all schools around. There would be parties happening, like, and I never was invited, but I never like chose to go as well.
Yeah.
And it was never a thing. My free time, I think, was like I was either mountain biking with Dad on the weekends, or I was playing music, or I was writing music, or I was around at a friend's house trying to play on his PS2 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I never had this growing up, like, oh, all my friends are, freshly turned 18, getting wasted. I never had that. So when I first went to the club scene, I was pretty like fresh, and I was like, whoa, like I can smell that.
These people are so happy.
And yeah, exactly.
And energetic.
Why is everyone so loopy and happy and
It's
always
4 in the morning.
wanting to be my friend? But and this is funny how when I was in uni, I chose to keep it really low key. Not that I knew that I was like a big deal Quix or whatever. I just didn't want to I didn't know if I was going to be there for long, and I didn't want to create all these crazy friendships. And then like all of a sudden I'm like, peace out, and then I'm like trying to still see them or anything like that. So I kind of just wasn't high and by, and got a few friends in uni. But I would catch the train to uni every morning, and walk from Britomart to Auckland University, and every time I walked there and back, I would smell people smoking, because this is what happens. And I would hate it so much. I hated the smell of smoke. I just got so angry. Like if someone was smoking around me, I would almost just want to like slap it out of their face. I'm just like, get it away from me. Like I've never smoked in my life. So I was just like, no, and none of my family has. Then I get into the club scene, and I'm like excited to, say I'm like DJing that night, and I'm like opening for like another artist, or I'm just like trying to have like a fun resident night, and I'm like doing a show at 1885 or something like that. And I walk past in the smokers area, and everyone's smoking, and my tune changed as I like was like, actually like the smell of smoke now reminds me of the club, and it is now this like, oh, exciting. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be loud music. It's gonna be cool music, fun music, and the smell of smoke now reminds me of the club. So it's funny how like my senses changed to like, as I stepped into that.
Definitely.
And also the whole like, but back to like the alcohol and drugs thing. But it's, I never was like introduced to it in a negative way. It was always like my parents kind of brought me up in a way where they were never drunk. They would have alcohol, but it was never, they always were limited, and they were like never going too far. So I knew what it was, but I also knew my standards and my limits. So they really kind of guided me well.
So do you think like your faith has attributed to your success?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and why is that?
I just know that God was preparing a way for me from the very beginning. Yeah. And it's weird to see, and it's awesome to see how like from the very start of my music career, I knew God was preparing the time that I am like in right now, like right at this moment in this interview. Like he's prepared the time. And over the 2 shows that I just did in Auckland and Wellington for Homegrown, like those 2 shows were preparation for the next 2 years, or like in 2 years' time, I'll have something, and I would have been prepared by this. So I feel like, definitely, having my faith and knowing God as my Savior, and I believe in Him, and has been such a blessing, and just knowing that I've got this amazing dad in the sky that's got my back, and especially having an amazing wife that supports me and is in the same mindset, and family backing me, and so many of my friends that back me in that way with the same faith is like, it's amazing. Knowing that I have like people praying for me while I'm in America, keep them safe, keep them grounded, keep them humble, keep them, and it's incredible to know the support that I have around me and from above, which is great.
So what about the naysayers, the ones that are trying to attack that? Do you just cancel them out?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, if someone does like want to, I've never had someone come up to me and be like, you shouldn't do that.
Well, a lot of them kind of do it on the internet now, right?
True.
Yeah.
The internet's a great place for people to
Troll you.
to troll, but also to know that they don't have to be accountable to what their thing, because it's, it's not an alias, but it's like people feel free to say whatever the hell they want on the internet. And I've learned that over the years, not to really take so much offense from what people say on the internet.
Definitely.
It's just mindless thoughts. There's some, I'd put out a song and I'd have 100 comments on it, and one comment at the very bottom would be like, trash, bro, seriously, you should give up. And I'm like, that one comment would ruin me, apart from the 99, dude, this is amazing, this is sick, I love this, fire, lit, ha ha ha. And that one comment would ruin me. And I had to really like learn that some kid just probably was tired and stressed and just wanted me to put a song out that he liked. And he was annoyed, and he wrote, trash, lol, you should like give up, and sent it, and probably hasn't thought about it that whole day. And I'm like,
and he probably doesn't even realize that you'll read it and it would actually impact you in that way anyway.
True. A lot, knowing that I've been from the side of I could say what I want on the internet, to now like I actually understand what an artist feels like when they get those comments.
Oh, but definitely. Well, especially if you have 99 negative comments and only one positive.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that would be really tough.
You need to go back and rethink with your team what you're doing.
Because maybe there's a common thread there. If you're only getting one, you're doing something pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're getting one bad comment, that he had to like literally click the comment thing, right, and press enter,
and he probably listened to it. He obviously did listen to it.
He obviously did. So I know that I'm getting that engagement and whatnot, but it's you just don't let those little ones get you down, because like I need to sometimes always like talk to my wife like, oh, I feel so bad, like nothing I've been writing in the last week is working, and then she's like, no, you're doing great, there's so many artists behind you supporting you. And
wives are amazing like that.
Oh man, I flippin' wouldn't be here without her.
Oh, definitely. It's like, it's all, there's so much behind the scenes what people don't see, and it's just beating yourself up, and then am I good, do I have the skills, was I a 5-hit wonder or whatever?
Exactly.
All that jazz. Like we, for us, our business is, we have to do successful products in order to pay the bills and for everyone to pay the wages and whatnot. And I have times as well, and it's just like, you have to lean on those closest to you, your wife, and then just cancel out all the negative trolls. But how, like, for success, what percentage of it do you think is talent, and then what percentage of it do you think is the actual psychology, faith, people around you? Because obviously you can have you probably know some insanely talented people, and for some weird reason they just haven't amounted to anything. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I believe that if you have talent, it will be recognized in one way or another. It's just time. And it sucks because you got to learn patience, and patience is tough.
And you think a lot of people quit to actually get to reach that time?
And to shorten that time, a lot of people sell their morals or sell their integrity to get to that.
That's
to
a
that
really
moment,
good advice.
which is, it's something that I knew that I flipping couldn't do. I need to made sure that I didn't, sell any of my integrity just to get to that one stage. Because I feel like if you want to reach here, you're here right now, you want to reach here, and you just like go, okay, I know that I don't drink, but in order to get to the promoters and make them like me, I probably have to get drunk with them. So I reckon if I shorten that time, I reckon this bar definitely just drops straight away, and it's harder for it to rise up.
Interesting.
But when essentially you have this moment, you have this stage and this stage, and I feel like if you compromise to get quicker and not wait and be patient, then this where you want to be actually drops, and you and it's harder for that to even increase in the long run because of what you've done, and you need to be patience is a virtue, and it sucks, and it's tough. And I know some of my artist friends in the States and even here that have been super patient and waited, and they see the fruit of their investment, and it's incredible to see, and it makes me like understand that. So like with the Auckland show and the Homegrown show, I was able to work with a VJ and an LD, and we actually time coded a whole intro, and that was an amazing moment for me. And I knew that me 2 years ago would have wanted that, but I knew I couldn't have that because, you know, I didn't have so much money to pay for the LD to come or the VJ to be there, or like, you know, my fee was equaling their fee, so it just wouldn't have worked, and all that jazz. So
Definitely.
I knew that there was a time and a place for everything, and and now, you know, the next thing for me is like, I want to make sure I like have all my show like pre-programmed, and so that we perform this amazing live show. And I know I can't actually have that right at the moment, but I know in a year, I think it might be, you know, the time might come where that opportunity arises, and I can have that. So it's a time and a place, and patience sucks, but it pays off so hard.
It's sound advice, concrete advice. I'm 100% agree with you as well.
Yeah,
and that's one of my core philosophies as well. It's just do the hard work, be patient, just try to be 1% better in every area of your life, in the business every day, and that's going to compound. And then eventually, you will be blessed, and you'll it'll pay its dividends.
It's amazing to see as well, man. I can't believe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if I, you know, myself telling my old self, saying, you know, you're going to be touring America and playing these insane festivals and shows, I just would have been like, I mean, thanks, but like I don't see that. I'm trying to mow my lawns right now, dude. What's happening? You know.
And then you've got people like Diplo whacking their stamp of approval on your music, and that just rocket launches it to the next level.
I mean, Diplo's been great. I have so many like guys like Alice in Wonderland, R.L. Grime, What's So Not. I even, when Skrillex was around here, I got to do a back-to-back with him, and he's been supporting my music. And Diplo was one of the, I mean, I don't even know if like this was actually him, but it was back in the day when SoundCloud was popping. Diplo had a side account called Diplo Approved, and I went on a ski trip with my dad when I was 18 or like just started uni, and we went, or maybe it was the end of my last year of school, and it was like a, well done, you like smashed school and now you're into uni, let's go down for a ski trip and have fun. And during that trip, the Diplo Approved account reposted one of my songs, and actually got me my first 1,000 plays on SoundCloud. That was a big milestone for me. So I mean, I don't know if it was actually Wes himself clicking repost, or if it was one of his team, but definitely like his side of things helped me a lot. And also like his label Mad Decent has released a lot of songs of mine, and supported me in that way. So I had to give it to them for the early days and supporting. And they've not only just done that for me, but so many other artists they've supported in their early days. And that's why Mad Decent kind of has that really strong platform of like bringing up the first generation of like those big DJs.
That's amazing, man. And then now you're living in LA?
We're posted in LA right now, just during the touring season, because it's not doable to jump from New Zealand to LA and tour, and then oh yeah, fly back home and then fly back for more shows. It just makes sense to be posted in LA.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like a lot of Kiwis over there at the moment as well.
Yeah.
Just like a bit of a vibe.
It's interesting. Something like I just learned that the Broods live over there.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So I mean, I'd love to make a track with them.
Yeah.
That'd be so sick.
Do you know those guys?
No, I don't.
Oh, yeah. They wear, a bit of ILU, so we could probably do the intro if you want.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That'd be sick. They've got an insane sound, and even if it like wasn't some raging banger that I love to make, it would be an amazing collaboration with them, and we could make something cool.
Yeah, which is what we said, when you switch it up, something will bloom into fruition that you haven't expected.
Exactly.
And then, just because I know you got something now, so we'll wrap it up pretty quickly.
Worries.
But for those that are that are a little lost, or do have a bit of skills in something, whether it be music or art or a business idea or whatever.
Yep.
And then they haven't quite found exactly what it is they want to do. Like, what advice would you give to those people? Or even for those that haven't figured out what they're good at, and they want to find that passion or that thing. What advice would you give to those people?
Yeah. So for me, I had no idea what I wanted to do at uni.
Yeah.
And I chose business just based on what Dad did.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, I kind of walked into uni kind of going off someone else's love and, appreciation for something. So, all throughout schooling, I was like, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a scientist. I don't want to try to be an engineer or someone, I just thought like, oh, if Dad's making bank with being a dope businessman, I should just try and, if anything, like jump into the whole accounting side or be a businessman. And so I didn't go in with a passion or a love, and that's why I think why I failed. So establishing what you love to do, even if it doesn't make sense as a job that will earn you money, doing something that you just absolutely love to do, even if it's like, oh, I love giving food to the homeless, like that refreshes me, that makes me happy, and I want to essentially make people feel loved. You take that and you go like, okay, how could I like turn this into something bigger than just an idea in a way. Wait, what was the question again?
I reckon you nailed it. Yeah,
I feel like I had more. Can you just read the question to me one more time?
It was just for the people that haven't quite found their passion, or they're feeling a little lost. What's some advice that you could give them? The other thing was like, I think it's always great to just be smart and have balance in your life. Yeah.
Don't drop everything for something that you love and go,
sure.
My parents gave me an allowance of this amount of money, and I'm going to use that now as like a huge investment to just put all my eggs in one basket and fully just bet on that one thing. I could have done that with the DJing thing, and maybe I could have been here maybe a year earlier, but I didn't know that, and it was a huge risk. And I think it's important to have risk, but it's also good to have balance and security.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I went and worked and mowed lawns for 3 years because I knew that was like a base level income for me, so that I could be comfortable, happy, buy a few things that I liked. Yeah. And also feel comfortable with my music, because if I'm not comfortable in my creative space in my head, then I'm not going to make anything that's cool or anything that anyone likes.
Yeah, 100%.
So if I'm sound in my head with my creative outlet, then it means that my whole creative outlet is going to be killing. It's going to be great. But if I'm not like that, then like there's no point in me trying to get into it. Just like, and that's another reason why like it's hard to make songs while I'm on tour, because touring is so taxing on your body, and you are tired about 90% of the time, and you just and it's so hard to work. So having balance and having security, but also making sure there's, you know, you're smart about things. You know, I remember making a remix for a couple of artists, and they were my favorite artists ever, and I knew that I wouldn't, you know, I knew that if I made something that was good enough, it would be able to like maybe pop off the internet a bit, and they would see it, and it worked. And I made this remix for Mr. Carmack and Stooky Sound called Uppers, and my intention for that was to make a good remix, but also make sure they see it and that they become Quix fans. And Mr. Carmack, one of my all-time favorite people in the world, and I've met him a couple times and got to share with him, like, you know, how much I'm a fan. Fanboy. The first time I met him, I was just freaking out. And now like Mr. Carmack plays that track out in every live set. And I played a LA show last year, and Stooky Sound, the other artist of that track, Stooky Sound were supporting me on that date. And to just think that, you know, I would have always imagined me supporting Stooky Sound, but they actually supported me on that date, which is mind-blowing. And they're the most nicest guys. They were so supportive, and they're just like encouraging me so much, and I couldn't believe it. So
damn. Sounds like an industry where everyone is quite supportive, and they want to kind of lift the other guy.
Yeah, that's good.
Or maybe it's just you and that's your outlook on it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some great people in the industry. Sometimes there's some not great people, but that's always going to happen in each industry.
Life, unfortunately.
That's life. But you know, you have the good people to stick around, and
definitely. Just to kind of like wrap it up, I just want to ask you a few kind of more personal questions. So do you do anything in the way of personal development, like reading books, audio books, or anything like that? Or is it mainly just like your faith, or what's...
Definitely my faith. I've also started exercising a lot.
Cool.
I lost about 10 kgs in the first, since January this year.
Yeah.
I did this festival called Holy Ship.
Yeah.
And it's a cruise ship that goes for 4 days, and it's a lot. I don't recommend... if you don't like house music, you shouldn't go on it, because every single meal I ate was just like eating my meals, just oh man, it was a lot. Fun, so much fun, beautiful. But I was like hovering around like 114, 115.
Wow. And
on cruise ships, there's those cheeky little buffets that are 24/7. So it's brutal. So after that, I kind of looked at myself and like, mate, I need to like kind of sort it out. And I just started running.
Yeah. Wow.
And now, I don't know, like now I'm like around 104, 105, which is really encouraging for me, because I've never dropped weight like that. It's always just been this gradual incline.
Yeah.
And now it's a gradual decline.
Yeah.
And it's terrific. But I know that for my, you know, mental health and what I think is good in terms of, my health is like helping me a lot with, pushing me along the way and making sure I can be who I am and play on stage and feel good about myself and about my body. And like, the food in America is not as great as New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I just got to make sure that I'm beating that system every day and making sure,
100%.
You know, I'm not only just, and this is in general sense, like making sure that what I put in my body is good fuel.
Definitely.
So that I can output something good.
Definitely. Well, it's amazing, just exercise, the endorphins and the emotions and the clarity, which just is, naturally within you. Whereas, a lot of people don't realize that. They think you have to get it all in a pill, but we've actually got the best pharmacy within us. Yeah. But I know, just to wrap it up real quickly, man.
Yeah, man.
Once again, really appreciate this. Is what would you say to like, your 15-year-old self, or even any 15-year-old that was like you were, say 9-10 years ago, wanted to do what you're doing, what you've done?
Yeah.
What would you say to them, just to kind of like fast track it? Make them avoid mistakes. Like, what's some, like in a couple of minutes, what would be the best advice you'd give that kid?
Yeah, like definitely just be like, dude, it's gonna take a while, and patience is key. Like, really be patient, and probably start learning. Like, I feel, you know, like, the production skills to make a good song haven't like changed in the last like 10 years. Like, there's still like a formula to make something sound good. So I would have said to myself, like, be proactive and actually learn how to make something sound better than what it is, and be proactive in gaining knowledge and skills that way, instead of just waiting for it to kind of like you to stumble upon it in a way. And just make sure you don't drink all those energy drinks in your teenage years, because that wrecked me.
That's great advice. And how can people find you? Like your music, your social? Yeah,
so on Twitter, it's just Quix. On Instagram,
how do you spell it?
Quix.
Cool, for the audience, yeah.
Yeah, and on Instagram, it's Quix Official, one word.
Cool.
And on Facebook, I think it's Official Quix. And then, hit me on my DMs if you want to ask questions.
Yeah,
and,
awesome.
I try to get back to as many people as possible. I'm really bad at, if someone sends me a song to listen to, it's a little tough to always just crank that out. But if it's just like a simple one sentence question, I'm normally happy to respond to people, man, like that.
Nah, it's amazing, bro. Well, yeah, once again, really appreciate you coming by. I know you're a busy man.
Nah, man,
busy schedule. I think, I personally got a lot of golden nuggets from this. I know our audience will as well. So.
Yeah, man. Me too. Even me talking about this goes, oh yeah, like I should really just like meditate on that a bit, maybe.
Yeah.
So
nah, for sure. Awesome, bro. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and found any type of value, please subscribe to our podcast, share with your friends, and give us a 5-star review on iTunes to be in the draw to win a $200 I Love Ugly gift voucher. We will be drawing a winner monthly. Good luck, and see you on the next episode.